Very much. Is this on? All right. So again, my name is Leanne Moffett. I'm the Sacramento County Planning Director. And I'm pleased to have the opportunity to share some of our observations about how we think implementation of the Delta Plan's forthcoming regulations and policies are going to affect how the county manages and administers land use planning in the Delta. And I also wanted to acknowledge I have Don Thomas in the audience behind me. He's our point person for the Delta, and Supervisor Don Natoli, who's on your council today. For a little bit of context, the unincorporated Sacramento County is about 1,000 square miles, of which 162 square miles are mostly in the primary zone with a little bit of area in the secondary zone. In April of 2011, you heard from a panel of land use planners representing the 5 Delta counties, and Sacramento County's message at that point in time, as it is today, is that we have been very good stewards of the unique and valuable land use and environmental resources in the Delta, and we have every intention of continuing that mission. Quite frankly, given our combination of strong general plan policies, our zoning, the Williamson Act contracts, and FEMA's decertification of the levee, our portion of the Delta, we do not see experiencing significant growth or intensive land use development now or in the near future. Having said that, we are actively engaged in trying to ensure the economic viability of some of our existing Delta towns, and we actually have a meeting going on right now with a number of interests in those small Delta towns, trying to see what we, the county, can do to keep those communities sustainable and viable. We do feel it's critical that we have a clear understanding of the Council and Delta Plan's role in interplay with our local land use and open space and conservation policies and regulations. And of course, the Covered Action Determination and Project Consistency Certification Project has been a key discussion point, as evidenced in concerns expressed in our past comment letters. The latest version of the plan, specifically the decision tree and covered action determination process described in Chapter 2, certainly does seem to provide us with the predictability and certainty we need as the local land use authority when we meet and advise and work with local project applicants. And so, some of that has to do with the sections about who determines whether a proposed plan, program, or project is a covered action. It does give the local agency to make that determination consistent with all the regulations. And it provides for consultation with the staff in the process, and it is subject to judicial review. So it's some of that language that certainly begins to give us more comfort about the relationship between these other planning efforts and our local land use authorities. Sacramento County staff from Planning, Water Resources, and County Council had the opportunity to meet with Dan Ray and with Jessica Davenport on April 10th to review some of the last concerns. And we certainly acknowledge that we haven't had in the Sacramento region and the local area sort of the kind of oversight, like a coastal commission or TRPA. So sort of this interplay is a little bit new for us. And we are looking forward to the ability to continue to work with all of you to make minor adjustments in the implementation framework as the plan evolves and is updated on the 5-year cycle. And I think this is a very good time to thank council staff, specifically Dan Ray, Cindy Messer, Kayvon Samsam, Eric Nickel, Jessica Davenport, and Chris Stevens for being accessible, and we look forward to a continued collaborative working relationship. I wanted to touch upon the fact that Sacramento County has recently adopted our general plan back in November of 2011. For the first time, we included in that general plan a Delta protection element, including a lot of policies there. We continued our agricultural element, open space, and conservation elements, where Sacramento County continued its commitment to agricultural protection within the Delta. And we also created a GIS layer for the first time with the general plan designations, and the board made some very reasonable and conservative interpretations about what had been kind of big hand-colored areas on the map and really focused those down into what we think are reasonable geographic areas for those Delta towns. I was going to reference our South Sacramento Habitat Conservation Plan, which has long been under preparation, and regulations in Chapter 4, Protect, Restore, and Enhance the Delta Ecosystem, will link possibly to that, and these policies are set forth in the proposed regulations. We do have some concerns about our overlap with more with the BDCP, less with this plan. And so that's an ongoing point of discussion for Sacramento County, a little bit tangential to this discussion today, but of extreme importance to us with regard to, whether there's competition for mitigation resources and how that overlap plays out, and whether Sacramento County will be afforded by the regulatory agencies the same level of parity as granted to the BDCP in terms of mitigation. So that's a current topic of discussion for us. So in conclusion, for 3 years, you've heard time and time again that the Sacramento-San Joaquin River Delta is special. It's home to unique cultural, economic, and environmental resources found nowhere else in the world. My closing message today is that Sacramento County will remain a strong steward of the Delta and will apply and implement all applicable and reasonable local and state land use and water management policies and regulations to ensure that the Delta remains a special place in perpetuity. We look forward to continued collaboration and engagement with DSC staff once the plan is adopted and the regulations receive approval. We do note that local governments are not called out as members of the Delta Plan Interagency Implementation Committee, as described in Chapter 2. However, we do feel that local governments play a role and are key information conduits, and we are intrigued about the possibility of establishing a hybrid local land use feedback group that Mr. Ray and other staff have referenced. And once that process is fleshed out, we would love to have the opportunity to engage in potentially being a member of any of those kinds of groups. So thank you for the opportunity to share our thoughts, and please feel free to contact me or any of our staff if you have questions.
Thank you.
Okay.